going to call this meeting to order, and the first order of business, a change in the agenda. Under bill for payment, it is not warrant 167, it is warrant 17P. So that correction. And with that, that's the only correction. So we have the minutes of February 1st.
I'd move approval of the minutes of February 1st.
I second that.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will abstain.
All right. Then we have bills for payment. We have warrant 17, the payroll 17P. We have Recreation Board 7, Conservation Board 3, and the Cemetery Fund number 3.
I would move approval of bills for payment warrant 17, warrant 17P, Recreation Board number 7, Conservation Board number 3, Cemetery Fund number 3.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All right, the total for warrant 17 is $316,603.28. Of that, $300,000 is going to the Dummerston School. We have a Rescue Inc. payment of $3,515. We have the sheriff's bill, payroll transfers, fuel, Green Mountain Power, making the balance of that $16,603. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. This is our time when we recognize visitors for public comment. And if you're here for something on the agenda, then you can wait till we move along. But otherwise, take your comments now. All right, then. We received a letter wanting us to consider the ownership of the athletic fields. And we needed some more information. So Christina Naylor is here to...
May I approach the bench?
Yes, you may.
So here, in case you're a visual learner,
Yes.
for my education degree now again.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So this,
One more copy? We give to...
I'm sorry, there's. So as you know, the Dummerston Town School Board is in a merger discussion with Putney, Guilford, Brattleboro, and maybe not Vernon. I'm sure you have all aware of that. And last fall, Alice Laughlin, who's the chair of the study committee, mentioned that Putney was going to separate their forest. They have a 180 acre school forest. They were going to remove it from their school district because they wanted to make sure that that forest was preserved for the students of Putney, and that a merger would not use that forest for anything else. I'm quite a skeptic of the merger and how it might affect our town, and beginning to think, well, what do we have at our school that might be an asset that the whole town enjoys, that we should consider how we would protect it. And the first thing that came to mind is level land right on Route 5 that we all use for fields, including the Recreation Board. And I talked to a couple of people and said, what do you think about this? I wasn't on the school board, no, I was on the school board at the time, but talked to Rick Mills, and he felt very strongly, and a couple other folks in town said, we should really think about how that would look in a merger and what could happen to that land that we all enjoy as athletic fields. I brought with me the minutes from December 7th and the Putney meeting where the Putney School Board mentions, and I've parenthesized it for you, that the Putney School Board says, if the merger is approved, then all assets of the town of Putney School District would become part of the larger newly formed district immediately, including the school forest. The Putney School Board has an interest in keeping and maintaining the forest as an educational outdoor classroom. and program for Putney students now and in the future. In order to do this, they feel they must transfer the property before town meeting to either another nonprofit entity or to the town of Putney. And if that is what they are pursuing at this point, and I'm not sure if they're setting up a nonprofit to do it or if they're transferring it to the town.
And when you're saying the Putney School, you mean Putney Central?
Putney Central School, yes.
Putney
Yes,
Central,
sorry,
okay,
yes,
good,
yes.
yeah.
Sorry.
Just to clarify, we're,
Yes.
for the
Yeah,
viewers.
yes. So, I'm here as an initial discussion with Emily, my fellow, Emily Gelke, Selectboard, fellow school board member, to see if there's interest in the town. The concept would be that the school would sell the fields, at least the fields, to the town for $1, and then the school would lease it from the town for $1 and be responsible for all the maintenance, the insurance, all the costs of maintaining the field. It would still be borne by the school, but it would protect the field from, suppose they decide they need another middle school football field for all the children in the district, that it would be in the hands of the super board to decide what is the best situation for those fields. And they may not want to have that back soccer field or 2 baseball fields, so they could turn the whole thing into a football field, and that might work for some people in town and not others, but it wouldn't be a Dummerston-based decision. Or they may decide they want a new administration building, and that would be a nice place to put it. So it does keep the terms of the lease in the hands of the Dummerston townspeople. So that is the concept.
So if you lease it back to the school board in this Act for Fix, where would you get your funding for the insurance and the maintenance and all that stuff?
If the merger were to go forward,
Mhm.
it would come from from the consolidated budget of the entire district.
Okay.
The new district with all these entities, if the
And-
merger goes through.
And they would pay that, why? Because it's not part of their district.
Because they're leasing the
Maybe the
fields.
leasing.
Because they're the lessee for the fields that the kids play on.
Okay, so they would agree to lease it back? Is what you're-
I would presume that,
Okay.
I think athletic fields are a pretty valuable resource
Mhm.
to schools, so I would presume that they would continue to lease it back.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess, you know, another way of asking that same question is it less likely that the consolidated district would be willing to pay those extra costs, not owning the field? Does it make a difference to them? Are there might there be other like situations within the larger district?
I would have no way to
Mhm.
possibly
Yeah.
give you an answer to that question, you know.
Well, because we have other things in the town where we have taken them and then provided them to another entity
Mhm.
that was potentially not gonna cost the town anything. In the end, it cost the town.
Yes.
So it's great to have a good intention,
Mhm.
but you gotta have some follow through with it.
Well,
I just bring it up
yeah.
for a thought.
no,
Yeah.
that's a good, valid thought.
Yeah.
If it was taken back to the town uses those fields. Kids on the rec board is a town function, it's used by townspeople. It's our land currently, so somebody has to pay to maintain it. It comes out of Dummerston's pockets one way or the other. So the worst case scenario is we're providing a place for all our rec board activities to occur and we're
Okay.
maintaining that. I guess that's the worst case scenario.
Yeah, but we just need to go into it with open eyes, knowing
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that could potentially.
Yeah.
So is there any parallel to the community center in terms of who owns it, but who maintains it, and what financial liability there is, and what was the expectation prior, and what is the actual situation now?
Okay, so for a historical perspective, I could maybe call on maybe Paul Normando.
Sure. Hi. Well, first of all, there's no building on this property, and that's where the bulk of your expenses for the community center have occurred, for a building.
Good point.
So basically what you're doing is mowing lawns and you know, maintaining fences and things like that, but the rec board has apparently been taking care of that. or volunteer labor has been taking care of that. Is
Well, I
my
think-
understanding. I don't think that falls under the school's budget, does it, Christina?
The
Maintenance of
school
the field.
pays for the mowing of the
Oh,
field.
oh, they do, okay.
Mhm.
Because I know
And then-
Claude used to do it for an extended period
Well,
of time.
for,
No, when I coached baseball over there, it's the same guys who mow the school, they just mow the whole thing. They mow the baseball field.
Uh-huh.
Claude, he's a baseball
The
master.
baseball guy, okay.
So he does the layout of the ball field, you know, but he gets a budget from the
Mhm.
school to, you know, redo home plate, redo the pitcher's mound, do the lines, you know, bring in new gravel or new
Sure.
stuff for the infield. But on the insurance thing, with the community center though, what happened there was they actually had to go back afterwards just recently and they had to tear down a lot of their equipment because they couldn't afford the insurance
Uh-huh.
if they left the things that we all played on as kids, right?
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, the playground.
So they had to basically destroy, or I should say, had to dismantle some of the structures that were there, so that they're left with a swing and a slide.
Because they couldn't afford the
insurance to have the jungle gym and the.
Uh-huh.
So I guess it's a matter of if you're having, it's just something to think about. as
well,
we
so,
go
I
through
mean,
this.
I spoke to Joe Carroll today, and it wouldn't really make sense, the playground equipment that's there would not make sense to train, that belongs with the school, so I just wanna be clear, because that could be an issue, that would sort of logically more belong to a school than belong to a town in a way, because
Okay.
it would do that function, so that's a
Yeah,
good
yeah.
point, I mean, I know that you're just on a tangent, but I just
Yeah.
wanna,
Well, I'm just looking at the baseball fields. I was hoping you would keep the playground equipment with the school.
yeah, that would be the,
I don't wanna get bogged down in that. I just wanna make sure that we're thinking of that could potentially roll back.
Jody Normanto.
I just want to throw in one little thing is the ball field, Landmark College uses that and they do a lot. I don't know how much they pay or what the circumstances are with them, but they use it all year long, I think. So, you know, some of those things could come into play in
Is
this.
that called winter ball? What is the issue about?
Well, we could make a cross-country ski tour and a good amount out of it, if we have snow.
But I think the primary thing when you ask, I mean, the bulk of your expenses, like on the community center,
Or the building.
are buildings. You know, and I think the same thing, there is no structures there.
Right. So I was asking you for the historical perspective because I think
Yeah,
it was a group wanted to take over and so
Right.
they would be responsible
Right.
for the maintenance and
that's correct.
financial
That's correct.
responsibility for the building.
Hmm.
And, you know, they've done a great job. It's eroding.
It's become more of a burden on the town.
Well, not so much a burden, but
Well,
they've
the
asked-
responsibility has
yes.
been shifting
Yes,
towards the
so
town.
we've been shipping in
I didn't
a
mean
little
I
bit
didn't mean
more.
burden in the sense of.
Yes. So that would be.
Yeah. Yeah, but
That.
my recollection was it was like, you know, things like big capital expenditures that have gone into the community center, like the heating system and the painting and a new roof. And those things, I think that group has come to the town and requested additional funding to help pay for that, or to pay the bulk of it, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
So, I can't imagine that thing happening with just raw land, you know, I mean, even if, you know,
Mhm.
mowing is probably your biggest expense.
Mhm.
Well, the insurance is a piece.
Mhm.
So this letter referencing Putney's situation, they say transferring the property to the town of Putney or another nonprofit entity. So is that something that you've considered a possibility?
I had just considered that possibility when I printed off these minutes today and read to see what Putney was doing. And thought, why am I reinventing the wheel? Let's
Okay.
take what somebody else has done.
Is there a plan B?
So I could consider a plan B. We are sort of under the gun. If consolidation vote is happening in April, the consolidation would have to be completed in July. So if we would have to create a nonprofit from scratch, I guess that is a possibility. It just seemed to me for Dummerston's situation where we use that land as a town a fair amount, and it's a valuable asset. I mean, worst case scenario, don't, that land could be sold. It's land on, commercial land property on Route 30, so it's not like it would ever become such a.
Route 5.
Route 5, sorry, Route 5. So it's not like it's something that you're going to have to pay to tear down or take away or do anything. So, I mean, that's the worst case scenario, is that you sell a field.
So when this issue was first brought up with the town taking ownership of the, the municipal part of the town, taking ownership, I thought, oh, that doesn't sound good. But leasing it back and letting, whoever has been running it and doing a good job continue to do that, that makes it much more attractive to my way of thinking.
You get another $1 of revenue every year.
Every dollar counts.
So are there other town events that happen on that field? Is that typical?
No, I just think it's the rec board, the schools, I don't know who
Well,
manages
it's
the
the,
baseball.
I mean, it's a great, I'm not disagreeing with you, there's always unintended consequences of things like this, and we can factually look at unintended consequences that have happened, but to jump in, it's the middle school baseball field, is primarily what you're looking at, and then there's the little softball, or the practice small fry rec field, which is next to it. But now, isn't the school septic behind to the west of the middle school
I
field?
don't know, I think it
I think
is.
it's down along the,
So, right, it's along the wood line.
Yeah,
So that's gonna have to be preserved with the school, I would
Yeah,
suspect.
yeah.
So that's gonna be a non-contiguous piece of property depending on how you're looking at
Or a
cutting it
right
up.
of way or something to
Right.
get to, however.
Sure. So it's a great piece of land. The Landmark College pays some rent to use it, which actually probably more than pays for the maintenance, it pays for much of the maintenance. My information's a year old from when I was helping coach baseball down there, but it's a great piece of land. It's a great ball field. It is self-generating financially in some ways. The rec board does use the smaller ball fields. I'm not sure exactly if you're
But
talking all three of
there's
the
soccer
fields.
fields as well.
Okay.
And so the soccer fields are used
Yeah.
extensively.
Yep.
And then there's the soccer field close to the school, and then there's the
The
full-fledged
middle
soccer,
school one,
the
yeah.
the middle school one,
Yeah.
but that's used,
So
you
that-
can't drive by there and not see soccer on there
Yeah.
in the fall.
So I'd say it's a very active
Yeah.
piece of land. I mean, I think it's a lot goes on there, for the town. It's just, I think we should look at what potentially our costs could be insurance-wise and things like that if it doesn't get leased back.
Right.
Right, yes, the lease is key to my being excited about this.
We could find some big donors, right?
you probably, if it push came to shove, you probably would have a lot of community people who would be willing to support that. It's such a valuable asset for the community as a whole. Think of it if you didn't have it, and what the impact on the town would be.
Yeah.
And that, that raises all kinds of
Yeah.
concerns.
So, is this just a fear of, what might happen? Is it a well-grounded fear that this could possibly be taken, wrested away from Dummerston control, or?
But, and Zeke, I wanted to speak to that. I was at the meeting, I was Jody, Paul, and Dan, and Geraldine, on Monday about the Vernon exit, and it was really primarily about the Vernon exit. But with that said, inevitably Act 46 came up, and because the issues are intertwined, it's really because of Act 46 that the Vernon exit, issue arose. I mean, it's a big unknown out there, and I guess the concern that's being expressed is that the powers that be down the road may not do the right thing by way of the residents of Dummerston. Whether that fear is well founded, I don't know. I would certainly hope not. I mean, it's especially as well utilized as that facility is, and given its proximity to the school. I mean, I can't imagine, the school district, putting up a building there and denying the town residents, the use of, the longstanding use of that, the playing field.
Yeah, again, but I think you have to consider restrictions too. What kind of restrictions could they put on? Could the Babe Ruth still use that field? Now are the people of the town gonna put those restrictions on?
Right.
This is kind of a can of worms that's really hard to just look at here in a quick, meeting, because if they restrict the Babe Ruth from using it, or if they restrict, what if they say it's a school middle field, or middle school ball field, so, you can't take your kids over there for batting practice or something, which, for the most part, you can't really do that now, but you can get over there a little bit, it's well maintained, it's not open to the public to go over there on daily use, but if the school district said, you can't go over and use the batting cage when it's up, or you can't go on the field, I think we potentially could lose some leeway with what we can use that field for. I don't know,
Yeah, well, I think Zeke, your question, is this a well-grounded fear? That's a great question. And nobody knows what a merged district is what the impact of that is necessarily gonna be. But I think the fact, there's a fact in here, which is if it were owned by Dummerston, it would be a Dummerston-based decision about how that field would be used. If it's not, if it's still part of the school and then part of this merged district, there will be other people sitting around the table making this decision. And so it won't be a Dummerston-based decision. It will take Dummerston in mind, but the factors that larger group would be considering would include a lot of other factors. So, I think that regardless of imagining what the merger means, picturing a group of Dummerston residents making a decision about that field as opposed to a larger group of people, it's pretty clear that they will need to take a bigger community in mind when thinking about that field.
It occurred to me as well, though, that if we were to establish precedent by doing this, might Brattleboro say, well, we don't, the high school, all that land down by the high school, that they don't want that to go to this unified district. Might Guilford do the same thing with their grounds?
Well, is that a problem? Or is that
Well,
something you're worried about?
I think it sort of undermines, the cohesion that I would hope the unified district would have if everybody is going off and protecting their, just the interests of their townspeople.
I should say that at the meeting where I said, well, we have fields, and there was some question, well, fields aren't worth anything, and I think that's arguable, given how much Brattleboro paid for the field on 30. At the time, I said, well, the only thing I can think of is the Dummerston Fields, and I think we should consider that as a community, and nobody else brought anything to the table. But any land that belongs to the BUHS district already kind of belongs to all of us, and there is only one school there that is serving all the students, so that's clearly unified under one roof is a little bit different than unified under separate roofs. So the only two towns that had something that they considered to be an extraordinary asset that was used in a way that they were concerned about was first Putney, and then my concern here. And I think where the fields are used pretty much 50-50 rec versus school use, it's a little bit more, you can't ask a school district to take the rec board in the same level of concern as it does their mission, which is maybe Putney would like to use another field, and so our rec team can't schedule time for the first graders to play because that's a rec process, that's a rec governed body by the town. So it's a little different, I think, than you're saying, like, I'm not saying they can't have all the bathrooms at the school. It's something that has been a town asset, and it would not be, it should not be the goal of a unified school district to worry about what happens in the rec board. If there's a geezer league that wants to play that I want to play on, that has to take a second back seat to Putney needing another field to have a team play at a school level. That's a no-brainer to me.
Well, my mind is not made up on this one, but I think we just do need to take a broader perspective, if you will.
I just learned something here in terms of the rec board. So the school uses the field for their gym activities and their athletic sports middle school teams. But the rec board is separate. That's a town committee that has a history of using those fields, and your interaction with the school is such that it's you're familiar with how to work those schedules out.
Yeah, I spoke to Ron Speck today, who's also an incredible steward of the soccer field. And he said, well, it's all, the rec board, when they're scheduling soccer, they check in with him, they all work it out very collegially. And it's understood that the middle school teams have to take precedence over the rec board teams, but they try, if something's coming up, they just work things out, because he schedules the soccer field for the girls' team and does a lot of maintenance of it. So,
Interesting.
so yeah, it's all been done sort of informally, because we're all in this, serving the community.
Dan Alberto.
Thank you, Zeke. Geraldine took some of my words right out of my mouth, and thank you. You really summed it up. It at its essence, this discussion, much like the entire discussion from my standpoint about Act 46, is about control. And as you said, it's a fact. If you own it, you control it. You control your destiny. What you do with it. If you don't own it, you don't have. Somebody might listen to your opinion, but you have zero control. So that's what this is about.
We don't have zero control, but
Well, control is a very definite term. You don't.
I mean, you're part of.
You're collaborating. You're not controlling. And when you own it, possession is control. So that is where I come from. Do we want to control our future or not? And it's that simple. I had advocated back a year or so ago when this started happening, and it didn't go very far just because we were distracted with other things, but that it should be the whole property, the building and everything, because again, it's control. You just don't know what's going to happen. And I don't want to get into the weeds, but there's very tried and true methods for controlling, for prescribing how these sort of things happen. A lease. Leases have been around for hundreds of years. Triple net lease, as a variation of the lease. You write everything in there. Lawyers are very good at doing this, where everything is detailed out, where the expenses, transfer of ownership, heirs and assigns, you figure all that out. It's not that complicated. The reason to go further, and I know this might be a little much, because we've been talking just about the fields right now, but the building, again, it's an asset. We've bought and paid for it. And do we want that to be just totally gone forever? Because picture a scenario. You can come up with 100 scenarios. Who knows if they're realistic or not? But down the road, if, for example, the school was closed and we don't own that building anymore, we don't control how that building's used. And God forbid, could you imagine something like a wheel and hub prison system, going in there?
That's in the zoning bylaw.
Well, it's commercial, isn't it? Isn't it commercial?
It's not a conditional use.
Okay. Well, but I bet you could come up with a couple of uses.
Talking to the DRB.
Yeah, I know. I'm not going to argue with them because that's out of my wheelhouse. But I can certainly imagine there'd be some uses there that we might not foresee. And we all know what's happened in Windham County and where the growth has been. There's some things that could happen, probably, I don't know the zoning, that we might not like, and it would be out of our control. So I know this is I think this is a first meeting or a first blush at this, but I would ask you all to think about that premise. Do we want to control it, and what portion of it do we want to control, and how do we go about doing it if we do? Thank you.
So, Julie Normandow?
Well, I was just thinking, we have a lawyer sitting across from me here, and we have a municipal lawyer on the school board. And it seems to me that they might be involved in how this might work between the two boards, with some very good ideas.
Yeah, I think we would have to, I'd like to see the school, or, we can't have Joe write up a lease for us. That's just
Well, in
sort of beyond
discussions,
his pay grade.
Right.
in discussions.
But,
And I would be surprised if Michael would craft a lease also.
I don't
Right.
think he would act,
Yeah,
he
but you
would- he
could-
would not act
yeah,
as an
but I
attorney.
think it'd
Right.
be interesting to take this to the next step and
Okay.
get a lease that we could look at.
Okay.
and-
Draft.
Yeah, a draft lease, and having something actually on paper in front of us would give us the opportunity to do the what ifs.
Yeah.
And,
Well, yes, and I would like to honestly, when we talk about control, it's like, okay, which is the lesser of two evils? Just because you have control of it, not you particularly, but the town, how do I know that you're not then gonna come around and say, well, we don't want you to do this? I mean, I said, it could be the district, could be the tougher one, or, you get a small group of people who have their own agenda, and they have control of it, so to speak, and then maybe they're the less desirable, tenant.
You're speaking of yourself, you are the select board.
Well, no, because I'm leasing it back to you,
And the school, I see what you're saying in that.
so then you're
procedure.
gonna tell me that
Well, the
we
school
can't
will
go
be
there.
this super board that if we don't do you see what I'm saying? The school would be the super board that is controlling it if we don't control it. But there is the lessor, which would be the select board, that can put stipulations in the lease about it's accessible for town use.
Yeah, guidelines
Which you
for
won't
it.
be able to do if it's
No, I
transferred to
haven't,
the
I
super
just,
board,
again,
so,
I'm just, yeah,
yeah.
you gotta pick one who's
But
gonna.
if they're going to be more restrictive, it's not solved by not transferring it.
Mhm.
The only way, if you think that the super board may be more restrictive on the property, the only way to solve that is to be the owner of the property that can put stipulations in the lease.
Yeah.
So there's that argument, I can't see how that argument would,
Yeah, well, if you stipulate, you're right, but who's gonna be the more generous, leasee, then, I don't know, we'll have to figure that out.
I guess I have to ask also, would we want to put the burden of the management of that property for the rest of time on, all future select boards? I mean, who, would this just be, would this come among the other duties as may be assigned?
maybe the
Yeah.
way I understood, correct me if I'm wrong, I heard you say, you sell it to the select board, to the town of Dummerston for $1, and we immediately lease it back to you. And so we don't have time to mess it up. We,
Yeah, but in
for the
least,
nanosecond that we have it,
but in the town owning it,
the town
it's
does
not a
own it.
nanosecond, we set the lease. It's the lease that we create for the school. And if the school is just Dummerston, that's one thing. If the school is the super board, those are the people that we're leasing it to. But the town of Dummerston has the ability to set that lease, and you could make that lease for a year, and then the next year you have the opportunity to change that lease. And if it needs to be changed, because it's now not just the Dummerston School, but it's the super board, you make that lease reflect you know, what you want in terms of the town's use of that field.
I would tend to want, you know, just thinking out loud, to make the agreement with the town of Dummerston School Board before this goes further down the road, and that it be in perpetuity, or something so that we don't have to worry about, you know, the jackbooted, you know,
Right, but the
minions
the
coming
big
in.
thing that can change is
turning
whether
it
it's the
into a rhubarb
Dummerston
farm.
board or the super board, and we
Yeah.
don't know that yet.
Right,
So,
it,
But I think you can do that successors and assigns
Yes.
language, right?
Right.
And I'm not a lawyer, but I've gotten a chance to read a lot of legal documents.
right, so if that
and
changes,
that would
then,
be automatically assigned to the super board.
Well, the timing of this is, the Act 46 decision is what, on town meeting day?
Yeah.
No.
It's all up in the air now, depending on the
Vernon
Brexit
vote.
vote, the Vernon exit vote.
Yeah.
The earliest it could be would be mid-April at this point.
Okay.
Oh, I thought they were talking
Is
May
that
now.
Brexit?
I haven't heard Brexit, Vernon exit.
Okay, yes,
Sorry.
Brexit, okay.
Maybe it's just vex it.
Okay. So when would
So
when would
if
the consolidation actually
if-
take place?
the consolidation in order, because things are changing legislatively, so I honestly have no ability to answer that question with even 90% certainty, but I think the hope, if the vote goes through, the hope would be to have the consolidation be completed by June 30th, 2017.
So there wouldn't be much time to put a lease together.
Right.
Between those two events.
How long does that take?
It's not very long.
You know,
It's off the shelf.
So
Yeah,
we usually have, you know, raise your hand and get
I'm
recognized.
kidding. Sorry.
But I have a question. So what would you like to see the next step be?
Well, my first step here was to hear if there was interest or to see if I had to work on creating a nonprofit, and so it sounds like there is interest. I think either the Dummerston Town School Board or the Dummerston Select Board needs to come up with a lease and
Yeah.
maybe have, but I think we probably use the same attorney in this case, am I correct? Would
Right.
be our attorney speaking,
We use Bob Fisher.
Fisher, and I think we would probably use Fisher and Fisher for this. We've been using other attorneys for other more Act 46 related things.
Well, for the solar.
So we're a member shy this evening, so, but it's, my sense is that we're sort of interested in pursuing this. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I'd be interested in it.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, and I'd be more interested in having the school board do the
Draft lease,
work
yeah.
for this.
Right.
Yeah.
And pay for it?
That's what he meant. He didn't need to say that. He knows it well enough. I live in this town. I knew he was.
Well, on that, I'll go back, because I would not be in favor of the in perpetuity, or how
Okay.
you say that, because I have had experiences with, you know, middle school kids trying to deal, and I know this will be potentially one big district, but trying to deal with supposed agreements with other schools to consolidate, and it did not go even as it was supposedly written, so.
Okay.
I am much more skeptical, if
Yeah.
you haven't picked up on that just yet, about some of these things, so.
Okay, I'm a model
Yeah.
of flexibility here, so.
Indecision, the key to flexibility.
Well, there may be
Keep
some
an
middle
open
ground, like
mind.
5 to 10
Yeah, I would
year
say,
lease terms on leases, and that way it
I'd go,
isn't.
you know, I'm only one vote, but 5 years would probably be the extent of my,
We are blessed in the room with people that are
Yeah.
realtors that do
Yeah.
things, so maybe.
yeah.
You could do
You can
options
always
to
have a
the-
clause that upon transfer, the lease gets to be renegotiated.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things you can put in there that
Yeah.
are fairly standard that would, I think, address your concerns.
Yeah. And I think 5 years, if it came up and everything was going good, it would
Renew it.
hopefully only be a couple minute discussion.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Right.
there would be no, so
So we get a dollar, we get
So,
a dollar a year that we can
Yes.
plan to.
Why wouldn't you do an annual lease? And that way, if things weren't going well, you know, you could,
I'd be happier with that too.
yeah.
I mean, I think
Okay,
the
so
renewal
let's-
is easy.
somewhere between perpetuity and year.
No, so, you know, in that ballpark, huh?
You guys are easy.
The Historical Society had 99 years, and I pay $1 every year to you guys, so. for the lease of land.
So, and there's no issue with us using Fisher and Fisher, because that is who you would review the lease then, right? For,
Make things go more efficient.
I guess it would be more efficient. Sorry, I'm a city girl.
So is that, are we giving our tentative blessing to take this to the next step?
I think it's worth looking into.
Okay, do we need a motion to do that? Why not?
Always helps.
Yeah, so let's have, I'll make a motion.
Go for it.
How about, we, the Dummerston Selectboard would like the school committee to come back to us with a lease, a draft lease for this proposed transfer.
I'll second that.
Is that good enough to get things going?
I guess in just the discussion part of this, do you need to outline like the survey of like what exactly
Yeah,
we're
in
gonna
order
get?
to have a real lease, we're gonna have to
Yeah.
have a survey done, which will be an expense.
I think there is one, I think I've got a copy of one.
But we'll have to come up
We
with
could
new
certainly get a
lines.
diagram of the intended.
It was sold in two parcels.
Intended, you know,
And
The
town
intended,
is
Well,
our
we
we
wanna-
have to have.
parcels, I've copied it.
for the real lease.
For the
But
real lease.
what
we'll
we
do that,
wanna
yeah.
see is what would agreement look like,
Okay,
so,
And a sketch of the actual
okay.
part of the land you're looking at.
yeah.
Okay.
But-
Any more discussion?
Before you go, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Possible? I don't wanna just,
So are you open, are you just focusing on the fields now and you're gonna write off the buildings?
This is just the fields, we're taking just. the-
So you're
That's
agreeing
my
to take the
understanding.
risk that if you don't do that, then who cares what happens with the buildings down the road?
I'm not saying.
Well, based on the
I don't
timing of
saying
everything.
We don't care what happens with the buildings, I think this first step is the fields.
well, based on,
Is that,
I agree. I think our zoning bylaws are adequate to probably protect really the type of development I think you're concerned about in there.
well, it's not just me.
So,
It would be
yeah,
what the town would be.
we-
Well, you're bringing it, you're bringing it up, yeah.
so, no, just fields,
Fields.
okay. Any more discussion?
May I say one more thing? Madam, Mr. Chairman? The one thing about the building, and I think we all need to think about it, is if the merger goes through, the building goes to the super board. If Dummerston decides down the road that this isn't working out, and they wanna get out of the union, they don't have a school to come back to.
Could they, set up a nonprofit to take ownership of the building?
I don't know, these are just questions I'm throwing out because I know
Okay.
what's happening and I know that's happened in Maine, that they merged and it's not working out and they have no schools to go back to, so it's causing a problem.
So the motion before us right now is
Is
to
on.
the fields. And any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
I'm gonna abstain because I'm
Okay.
undecided.
All right, so we have three, with one abstaining and one absent. Okay,
Good.
will you keep us informed of progress?
Well, I have to go, we have a meeting on the 28th, so I'll have to, unfortunately, wait until the 28th for our next school board meeting to move forward in spending the money to bring it done, so.
Okay,
I'll
you
let you know.
guys do bake sales and things, don't you?
We'll do whatever
Okay,
needs to
all right.
get done.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank you, thanks for coming.
Could I have a question too, about your agenda?
Yes,
Because I was concerned, and you all got an email from me today
Yes.
about communication for information only.
Yes.
So you're not acting on that tonight?
no, it's just on our agenda, all letters, and written information, phone calls get put into, they've gotta go into some
Somewhere,
folder.
one of those colored folders.
And so they, that was put in for our folder for information. And usually when we go through it, we ask if, does anyone want to go into more detail about anything? So,
I wrote a letter, but I have another meeting to go to, so I didn't know whether I needed to stay or not.
I think,
You want me to leave, I know, Steve. Come on.
didn't say that.
I know, you didn't.
Drive safe, guys.
I would
All right,
expect that.
well, is there anything here from,
No, it actually came in too late to be
I see,
included in
okay.
today's packet.
okay, thanks,
But it was emailed to everyone.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
thank you.
thank you. Okay, are we ready to move on? We have no road foreman right now, but
Oh, we have a road foreman, he's just not here.
he's not right here, yes, I stand.
He's quite busy.
I stand corrected. There was damage to the covered bridge, a truck causing damage again. The estimate to repair it is somewhere in the neighborhood of $50,000.
Oh, my God.
And that will be covered by the insurance, my understanding, the insurance of the driver's company. So, but it will mean that for maybe 4 or 5 days, there may be stop and go traffic on the bridge as it's repaired. You know, they might be able to, you know, stop traffic, then let it go. Or worst case, what I've heard so far is that traffic might be halted for, you know, a portion of the day. So not closing the whole thing down.
Sounds like the driver took responsibility then, at least.
Yes, the company, the driver was working for,
We
certainly.
spoke right to the owner of the company, right?
Yeah.
So,
So
Okay.
we've had no problem at all
Great.
in working with this company.
So the damage must be more extensive than it appears.
Yes, I guess there was some damage. My understanding is that some of the actual roof will need to be repaired.
Okay.
yeah, he's gonna, what do you say, he's gonna actually take the roof off to get, just, it's not a structural actually issue, it's just to get to the beams for the facing of it, they've gotta take the roof off
Mhm.
to get to those, but there's no structural, so, no damage to the bridge.
I see.
Yeah, it's safe to drive on. And it's not taking the whole roof off, just over this portion.
I see.
And so Zeke, when that bridge gets closed, what are the,
Or the traffic will be restricted.
right, but if, I'm just asking, when that bridge gets closed for a period of time, not in this situation, but in any situation, what are the consequences for the town? What's the
We-
thing to be concerned about?
We usually let school bus companies know, ambulance services know, fire
Okay,
trucks.
yeah, that's kind of what I
So
wanted to
all,
know.
all emergency,
Emergency
and then we
vehicles.
try to publicize it just so commuters and people using the bridge will know that
Right, but the safety piece.
there may be a wait, or there may be a detour for part of the day, or something like that.
Mhm.
But
Okay.
for right now, Renault, who is giving us the estimate, doesn't, there's no danger to traffic traveling over the bridge
Okay.
right now. So, under road foreman's report, we have the VTrans Class 1 and Class 2 pavement marking. That Lee has under control, and the Municipal Highway Grant Program and Certificate of Compliance. I guess that will be something we can deal with at our next meeting. We just sign off that the highway department's practices are in compliance with the state. Anything else?
I'll just throw out, because we didn't make it, just so people do watch or they have questions, but so what they're doing, well, up until it started snowing, they're going off, they're winging, they got the grader going, they're winging all the snow banks now to get the snow off them for the next storm, but, and they're also cleaning the snow banks. There's been several calls about, you know, that we all see it now, we pull out and you can't see.
Around.
So they're actually working on that. And I think he had some queries about, he was actually hitting some driveways, and people were asking why, but he's like, when I say hitting, knocking the banks off driveways, but he's saying if it's part of the road and they can do it for safety of the residents, you know, he's gonna not bypass it just because he's lifting this thing up to go by the driveway, so he's knocking those down, so hopefully the safety of the town residents
Yes,
will be
yes.
improved on
Great,
as we go. They've been very busy and they've done a good job.
great. Yeah, I wanted to make sure that we just mentioned our appreciation for the road crew. And, you know, a couple of storms, and I'm always thinking about how those guys are out clearing the roads. It's
Yes.
it's a lot of work, and it's not a 9 to 5 job.
No, it's definitely not. Right, I know Hugh and I were in here this afternoon when Lee was just stopping in on his way to go home, and while he was here, that's when, you know, we had the whiteout.
Oh,
And
wow.
So he just went back to the garage.
And you were able to give them some good chocolate chip cookies and,
We actually were sending them up by your place.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, we told them, you know, they never,
Yeah,
you know,
let
just
her-
go in, make yourself at home, that's what we told them. Any other highway? Okay, under correspondence for information, anything there you want to review or go into?
I'm gonna hand these out if you would. The one for Steve, I missed one, but, just regarding the letter from Kerry Toll and Airbnbs. This is the adoption amendment of bylaw regulations, just so you can read a couple paragraphs.
So, I've got
Did I hand you?
this one, maybe,
Maybe I gave it to you, that's a different one.
different one.
Maybe we have this one with
Okay,
Yep.
Yep,
the, I just give it to you for your, just to take a look at it, it's just gonna be a quick read, but.
this is enforcement bylaws section.
No, I
C
think we
or-
have the adoption amendment of
B.
bylaws.
All right,
Mhm.
Yeah, I think, all right.
Yep.
Let me start all over again.
All right.
You get B, adoption amendment. Okay. Just if you wanna read through that over the next couple weeks and just see if is this something that we want to keep in letters in, you know, basically Airbnbs and parking and things like that. I mean, they haven't really stopped since we've had our last meeting, but is this something that we want to tell the planning commission to, you know, take a pause on their town plan and move into looking into expediting a change to our zoning bylaws to address either tourist homes or Airbnbs? So I guess they have to kind of redirect their focus at the moment and come in and, you know, you can see it's a lengthy process as far as, you know, the, just by the diagram, you know, the planning commission, the public hearings, back to the select board, we have to have a public hearing. If there's any major changes, we go back. But it is a process, but if it's something that we want to do, then they're not going to do it, from what I understand, because they're going through their
They
town plan
mean the
iteration.
planning commission.
Right, they're not going to stop their, you know, their continuing progress on the town plan and go into adjust the zoning bylaws unless they're directed to do that. So I just,
So you're asking us if we would like to direct the planning commission to pause on what they're doing in order to focus on a possible addition or change to our zoning
across
bylaws.
the Airbnbs and the tourist homes. Yep. Is that something that we want to have them working on?
It's a good question.
right, I wonder what the planning commission would
Well, I think
say.
that's
think-
what he's
I
saying,
think-
is they're
I
not
think we
gonna,
know their answer.
What,
oh, I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Change hats.
We do have,
it's on your agenda,
it,
isn't it?
I think it is.
Yeah,
I
That was
don't,
my
we're supposed to meet
understanding.
tomorrow night, I don't think it's on tomorrow night's agenda.
right,
But it is sort of in the back of our mind, and I know that we sort of have almost have a finalized, town plan. So I'm not sure how quickly you wanna
I
have
guess-
us change hats and go to,
Yeah, and I thought when Sam responded to Kerry Toll's letter, maybe this was for the previous one, but he said that was not going to be discussed at the planning commission meeting. Did I have to write? I'm not, maybe,
yeah, I don't know.
because I think that's a fairly recent letter, and his email back to her said, you know, you can come and bring it up, and then we'll talk about it to a degree, but it sounded like he's the PC, Planning Commission's kind of marching down to accomplish the goal of the town plan.
Right.
And then they're gonna have to either go back and address this, or we need to get the zoning bylaws updated more quickly. And, they're gonna have to pause their town plan stuff, so.
I'm wondering also if we do get a zoning administrator, to address some of the concerns and, reach out to the fire marshal, that sort of thing, if that might, take the heat off, if you will.
Yeah, I think all the ones, again, in the village have had the fire marshal already there.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, talking to the owners of those, so, certainly having a zoning administrator would would be helpful. But I've given this to you tonight just to read it, it's very quick, and then maybe think about it in the tourist homes and see if that's something that, because it's, even when the town plan gets finished, then the zoning bylaws come after that, the rewrite. So we could be how far down the road before we actually address this?
We're supposed to have, and I don't have our agenda for tomorrow night, but we're supposed to have the town plan. We want it to go to public hearing, I want to say like in May, June, I think it is.
All right. Or if we don't redirect them, we get a schedule, after the completion.
I think some of why Sam is so focused on the town plan is because of the planning grant that we have.
Yeah.
There's certain deadlines that you have to meet with that, otherwise you lose the funding.
Right. Okay.
So if we refocus somewhere else and don't get the plan completed, we may not have the funding.
Okay.
But I agree, we can look at this handout and get a sense. But I think we may be taking a step much closer to getting a zoning administrator very soon. So, and I think, I agree with Joe that might help.
Okay.
So, maybe we keep this on the agenda for our next meeting to look at again. Anything else under correspondence for information?
So we can't talk about this, Act 46 Study Committee information videos?
No, we can.
So do you wanna say what that is?
That was a letter from Amy Wall letting us know that the Act 46 Study Committee has put together some informational videos, and those are available, whether they're on the website or on BCTV.
But was there a request that we put them on our town website?
No, that's
From
not how
Amy?
I read it.
No, okay.
I think it didn't ask that, it just said, like, some towns may be sending it through an email list, or I think it was a consideration of dissemination. It didn't, I don't think it specifically requested anything,
Uh-huh.
but
So we're just taking that for our information,
Yes,
these videos exist.
Yes.
We're not doing anything to promote them or put them,
No, other
Anyway,
than
just-
having them on our agenda and
great,
it's the official, they're on the Act 46 Study Committee website, I think, as people can go to
good.
and get them and look at them. So they're
Perfect.
available for everybody in the town who wants to go look at it.
good.
Let's see. Want to move on to, under correspondence for action or discussion, we have a letter of interest from Eric Lineback. He's interested in serving on the Energy Committee. Usually we have a little 10-minute chat with candidates before we appoint them or consider appointing them. Do you want to tentatively schedule that for before our next meeting on March 1st?
Sure.
Sure, it kind of begs the question of this other candidate though for the select board assistant
Right, we're going
position.
to, we would okay, well, let's have that discussion. We have one candidate that got snowed out. today. Do you want to wait until March 1st to reschedule that interview?
I mean,
When's sugaring season? What's your prediction? We're getting awfully close, I think.
You are.
so if we waited until, if we did it before March 1st, we probably still wouldn't make a decision until March 1st. Is that correct? Or if we met this third candidate prior to March 1st, would we be able to make a decision?
Let's see, we could, if we could get everyone, it's great if everyone is involved in this decision. We could warn it, a special meeting, interview someone, then have a special meeting to consider a select board assistant position and deal with it then, or we wait another week and take care of it on March 1st.
I won't be available next week, so.
Okay.
You wouldn't be available on the 22nd?
No,
Okay.
but I mean, if you wanna go ahead with it, I'm not opposed.
Well, the 22nd is not good for me.
Okay, good.
All right.
Well, that's
I mean,
up for the
think-
first.
I could do it maybe Tuesday or something, but.
It's gonna snow on the 22nd again. So let's, we have waited this long. I think I think it's an important decision to make, and so if we schedule it when we're most likely to have a full house, then I think that's better,
Okay.
okay?
But we should probably do an earlier meeting also to get the candidates in
Yeah.
beforehand.
Yes.
So is that a 5:30 meeting, or we're back to 6?
Well, we could possibly have a zoning administrator who would be vetted by the planning commission, so we'd just be really rubber stamping them.
I think we have an interview tomorrow night.
Yeah, I think so.
I would suggest we meet at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, again,
Okay.
for March 1st.
Okay.
And we could try, we have a select board assistant, possibly a zoning administrator, and then do you want to also meet with Eric Lineback?
I think we could fit that in.
I think we
Yeah, I think we should.
I
I
don't
mean,
think-
it's just a short 5-minute
That's-
thing, and the
that's
energy committee
For the
needs
energy
it.
committee,
Yeah.
right. Yes, given that he was able to write a letter and send it in, I think,
Well, and he was sick and he attended the meeting anyway by phone. I mean,
okay, so he shows
he
dedication.
does.
All right, so we'll go for 5 o'clock, March 1st. We'll try to have Eric, we'll try to have Julia, and maybe the planning commission will be able to forward us a name for a zoning administrator. Okay. Moving on, Rich Cogliano. He had
Oh,
written,
Zeke, before you go on, I'm sorry.
yes.
So if the planning commission is interviewing somebody tomorrow night, when that happened last time, there were, I think, 2 select board
Three.
members, 3,
Yes.
that went to that meeting.
Yes.
So is that a plan?
I'd say, we haven't warned it, but we are members of the public in addition to being select board members, so we
Right,
can
or
go-
one or 2 of
we-
us could.
Yes, if if the whole crowd wants, you want me to pick you up and, we'll go for pizza afterwards. If we had 3 members, we would just have to be mindful that we can't
Right.
conduct business or act as the select board.
I think it would be really helpful if 1 or 2 of us went.
Yeah, and then,
I could go.
okay,
I would be available to go tomorrow night.
When and where?
it's tomorrow at 6:30.
At 6, I believe it is.
Here.
Here, yep.
Yeah, I actually sent an email around to people.
Yeah, I remember that.
I guess I'm not gonna commit.
Okay,
I may be here.
all right. I'll probably go. I mean, the planning commission's always a good time.
Well, I wouldn't go if I knew that 2 other people were going. You know, I feel like it's good to have 2 people's
Okay.
ears
Well,
listening.
One,
I think the two of you are great.
Yeah,
Okay,
let's
Yeah.
go.
okay, so
That's-
Dave,
I
It's a
would,
date.
yeah, I would be relieved not to come.
okay,
Yeah.
so Zeke and Geraldine,
Yes,
okay.
all right.
I'll look on the agenda and see what, if it's something other than 6 o'clock,
Thank you,
Then
appreciate that.
send you an email.
Okay,
Yeah.
good,
Okay. Now, ready to move?
yes, sorry.
Okay, Rick Cogliano. He was asking about the recycling bins. I wrote back to him and then
Right.
asked him to advantage of this correspondence to ask him about the plans for the fire truck, and so that was in the packet. There's some question as to how much information they're going to have by town meeting, and any.
Well, I think, Marie was at their meeting, but I think they had a pretty significant meeting on the fire truck last night.
Oh.
And I think there's some changes potentially coming.
Uh-huh.
So I don't wanna, other than, there's a meeting, I think they've kind of expanded the people who are looking at the fire truck that they want.
Mhm.
And it may be some adjustments being made to that, to maybe the downward cost spectrum
Okay, that sounds
of
like
the original
good
higher
news.
than what we had budgeted.
Yeah,
So
all right.
I think there's more information to come.
Okay, so we should just stay tuned on that one.
I think so.
Great.
Were you at the meeting?
I was,
So is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
Very good. All right, so we'll just keep that on the agenda, and when more information comes, we will review it, and we'll see what we have by town meeting.
I think it's related to that, so I'll just say it, just so we can get it out for people to watch. So the fire department did get their 501c3 approved.
Oh,
Good.
hooray,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Good. Let's see. Moving on, there are changes, Green Mountain Power wants to change some streetlights to LEDs. I believe Lori forwarded this already to the Energy Committee.
Okay,
I would be comfortable waiting to hear what they thought. And I think it may have been Smoky Howe was actually going to try to figure out which lights they were speaking of.
do we want information from them on that, or would they assume that they would update us, keep us informed?
Yes, I think they would keep us informed if we have, I think GMP was going to do this anyway unless they heard otherwise. For some reason, we didn't want to go with this. That's my understanding.
Great, no, that's good news.
But I think it's been forwarded to the Energy Committee. Maybe you could just confirm
Okay,
that.
I will do that.
All right. There's-
If I could just get back to something that Hugh just said.
Yes.
So if the fire department does have their 501c3 status now, where should subsequent contributions for the fire station go?
As opposed to through the town, which
Right,
had been the
exactly.
previous.
Right.
Well, that's a good question. They could go directly to the fire department and be tax deductible, or they could still continue to go through the town. We'd be able to tally up so that we know what loan amount we need to go for. So, and people would still be able to take that tax deduction in going through the town.
So I was thinking, yeah, so anything that is for the station potentially could still come through the town. And then anything that was just for the general fire department donation would go directly to the fire department.
Right. This fundraising, my understanding was to reduce the amount, that $175,000 amount that the town will take a loan out for. So,
But weren't they talking about, setting up an account with a brokerage firm for gifts, for instance?
I thought the town did that.
I thought the town did
Yes.
that.
I think you did that, actually.
I went
Okay.
and met with
With
Yeah,
EJ,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right, that was the town, I'd forgotten.
Yeah.
Yep, okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, Comcast sent a letter, services and infrastructure contact information. It's a secret telephone number. And they're sending it to us, and we should, just forward it to the emergency management director, and, the fire department and the town road, foreman. So if you'd like, I could do that. Or someone else can have, I don't have to have all the front here, you can, if you'd like.
I'd be happy for you to do it, CP.
Oh, all right.
And I don't think we use a lot of Comcast, that's what
I
I
don't know,
understand.
we got the letter, it's gotta go in the packet someplace, we gotta deal with it. For some reason, if this arises,
The number.
if we forward it to the appropriate authorities, it'll save someone calling us at 2 a.m. to get the, where we have to get out our decoder rings and figure out the number.
I don't mean to jump around, but it just occurred to me, did we have an application for the assistant emergency management director position?
If you go, let's see, yes, we do, and it's under new business.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to schedule, darn. We've got 2 candidates, for the assistant emergency management
Oh, we
director.
do?
Yeah, and so we've got to schedule interviews.
It would probably be too much to get it all in within that 1 hour, I think.
To interview 5 people in 1 hour, I would say that would be beyond optimistic.
Right. Perhaps we could interview them at the following meeting,
Yeah,
before the following meeting.
yes.
So,
That would be
March 15th?
March 15th?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Right. How's that sound with you? Good, okay. So that's good. So I will set that up for March 15th.
Now, do we want to do the same thing, 5 o'clock meeting?
Start. Yes, let's just sort of, we'll confirm that maybe, whether we want to start it. Yeah,
That will be the new board, of course, right?
yes, it will be.
Okay.
So, one thing about interviewing 2 people for the same position on one day, I'm just always a little uncomfortable that the second person comes in and is waiting in this place where, it would be so great if we had a chair out there, and somebody greeted them when they came in and said, we'll be ready for you, and I'll come out when we're ready for you.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in that space.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how other people feel, but it just
I think
seems
it's a good
awkward
idea.
to me.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
And I know it's after typically it's after Lori's left,
Mm-hmm.
but
Well, first of all, where would they be? And it's not like this place is really soundproofed.
no, it's not soundproof, but if both of those doors are closed and the person is sitting in the vestibule area there, I think that's fine. As long as there's a chair and.
There's a chair, but there's a box on it right now.
Yeah, we'll
It has
take
been
the
for a
box
couple
off
of
and,
weeks.
ask them if they'd like a
Yeah.
glass of water or,
So
you
what area are you talking about here?
I think she was talking about the coat room.
Okay,
in a coat room.
okay.
Okay.
Unless we were gonna close this.
That's a big job.
Yeah, okay, I've never done that.
Okay. Under that item, under new business with the assistant emergency management director applications, we have 2 zoning administrator applications, and they are going to be interviewed tomorrow by the planning commission. 2,
Oh.
yes. So I am very hopeful that we'll have,
And neither of them are interested in both positions? select
one
board?
of them is interested in both positions, and we spoke with them this evening
Okay,
at an interview.
I see, okay, got it.
Under new business, we have the review applications for the select board assistant. We did speak with 2 of the 3 candidates. We'll schedule the third candidate, reschedule the third candidate for our next meeting. And then I think it would be appropriate to review and make a selection if
Mhm.
we're, if that's what, if we are feeling that we found the right candidate.
Well, I must say, it's awfully nice having all these months gone by, and to
Yes,
suddenly have, so many applicants.
yes, yeah, it's hard to fit them in.
Maybe I will add qualified applicants, so.
Yes, well, it's that yellow signboard out there. I think, once we fill these positions, we should maybe consider renting it out to other businesses in town looking for people. So that's about all I have on the agenda. Any other business?
Where it fit, just so you follow up, the amendment to the contract for the Encore Wind and Solar, that is, and I've notified them that we're gonna accept that amendment, and I was told we'd get a smooth, they'll fill all the, the blanks in, the updated.
Okay.
Information that was on the contract, but
Thank you.
send it back to us, and then I'll bring that one in when I get it.
Okay.
Good.
Yes, we've already approved it, but we'll just
Right, yeah, they'll smooth it up.
sign. Yep, that'll be great. Good. Any other business?
I would move we adjourn.
Oh, okay. All right, I guess everyone
Can I
sign?
sign?
Yep.
Sign.
Okay,
Do you have a
all,
second for the
all 5
adjournment?
I'll
copies.
second that.
All right. All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good.